So what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Movement6, and before we start, huge thank you for everybody who subbed this week, found the channel. If you're new here, drop a like, subscribe, comment, notifications, you know the drill. Thanks for all the support, guys. Really appreciate it. Also the feedback on the set I did in the previous video, a new movement sessions with all the promos I received from artists. So thanks for all the feedback on that and all the positive notes there. Really appreciate it. Now, today, we're going into gaming, more specifically backwards compatibility by the PlayStation 5, because there is some rumor in the distance that sparkles a bit of hope for everybody. Let's get into this. Now, what we're talking about is the backwards compatibility. There was also a huge, well, always a huge problem with backwards compatibility in general for the PlayStation 4. The reason is quite simple. They did promise us with the launch of the PlayStation 4 that there will be some form of backwards compatibility in there, and with the PlayStation Home, I believe, with that streaming service, you can say yes, but that's not quite what we were all after, right? We were after getting our old PlayStation 1, 2, 3 games, put it in the PlayStation 4, and being able to play it. Let's be fair, Xbox, Microsoft has done a better job than Sony on this front. Now, the reason why it was and still is to an extent so difficult to play those PlayStation 3, 2 and even 1 on an older or a newer system like the PlayStation 4 is because the PlayStation 3 specifically now has architectural design choices from an operating standpoint, from a software standpoint, but also from a hardware standpoint that weren't really benefiting development in general. It was a nightmare to develop games on the PlayStation 3. It was an absolute freaking nightmare. Now, the PlayStation 4 was a complete trend break with the previous console generations. The PlayStation 4 was more PC-like architecture, also from an operating standpoint, made it very easy, well, better to develop on than on the PlayStation 3, 2 and 1. Now, the reason why Microsoft is a quantum leap ahead of Sony when it comes to backwards compatibility is just from the standpoint that the Xbox, the original one, the 360 and the Xbox One, all benefit from the mother company Microsoft, right? It's a PC-based gaming platform. That's why it also integrates, well, almost seamlessly with your PC to play anywhere, everywhere. Now, the Sony has done some weird choices, if you will, in the past, setting it aside from the PC as an operating system in general, setting it aside from an architectural standpoint as well, which is now impacting the whole backwards compatibility process. Now, it has been confirmed that PlayStation 4 games will be able to be played on your PlayStation 5, which is not strange because from an architectural standpoint, the PlayStation 4 is closer to the PlayStation 5. It's more PC based, right? In terms of architecture, operating system, and also the choices on how the machine works. So the PlayStation 4 is closer to home where the PlayStation 5 is going to be, making it easier to integrate in a backwards compatibility idea or process. Now, looking at other games, because it has been a fan request from day one, that also PlayStation 1, 2 and 3 games can be played on the PlayStation 5 in the future. It's still a nightmare because the operating system of, well, in this case, the PlayStation 3, it's not really handy for backwards compatibility, but there is a spark of hope. Now, from comicbook.com, I got a news feed about a new patent that has been, well, submerged or immersed or teased or found, or whatever you want to call it. This article is by Ted Detman. It's been posted on July 9th. Now, let's get into this very quickly. A new patent from Sony has been spotted online that may give hope to PlayStation fans when it comes to the PlayStation 5's backwards compatibility feature. We currently know that the next-gen console will be compatible with many PlayStation 4 games when it launches. though not all of them right away, right? And that's not new, because also with my Xbox One, I regularly get updates and just heads up that a new game has been added to the backwards compatibility library. Per game, you need to check if it's compatible and if there are some weird choices being made that needs the emulator to do stuff, right? Let's get into this a bit more deeper. It has been confirmed that we'll able to play all PlayStation games on the PlayStation 5 via backwards compatibility. Sony's patent relevant to this matter suggests those older games could be ran on a PlayStation 5 using a virtual machine that takes the place of the older operating systems. And this is exactly the emulation you need, right? You need to containerize, if you will, the old operating system of the PlayStation 3, 2, or 1 and run that on the new operating system with a virtual machine. So then it can mimic the old operating system, translate that to the new one, make sure you can see it on your screen. That's cutting some corners here, but that's in essence how it works. Twitter user Ranka Schedule spotted the patent via IGN, and a translation of the user's tweet indicates that the patent system would be able to store game titles across the older generations of PlayStations within the console's cloud gaming library. The user then said the patent indicated that the games could be ran on a virtual machine, which would mimic the operating system of the console they originally came from. So Sony now seems to have found a way using a VM, a virtual machine, to run the operating system in a containerized environment on top of the PlayStation 5. This is new because the PlayStation 4, there were some limitations why the PlayStation 4 wasn't able to do it. You do have all the games that you can download from the PlayStation Store. Resident Evil, the original one, is one of them, right? They're there, so you can play them, but they have went through some changes to make sure it runs on a PlayStation 4. Some images provided within the tweet that came from the patent referenced past console generations. The user continued that thread from there with more patent information about other potential PlayStation developments pertaining to the PlayStation Store and other features. Now, I hope you can see this clearly. This is just part from the schedule of the patent. I really needed to go through a lot of translate this and translate that. It was a bit of a nightmare. But eventually what you see is nothing more than the little blocks containing the VMs in a database which then can run on top of the PlayStation 5. This means that you can containerize the PlayStation 3 operating system, right? Whether the PlayStation 5 would be compatible with other PlayStation games before the PlayStation 4 has been a big question leading up to the console's release. It hasn't always looked great for the prospect of the system being fully compatible with past PlayStations. This patent gives some hope to the backwards compatibility, but it's still a rumor. They did found the patent that Sony has filed for this, but it's still something we're not clear about. It's a fan favorite request. From my perspective, I fail to believe that things aren't technically possible. They are. It's just a question, how much trouble do you need to go through it? What adjustments do you need to make to any architecture running on the PlayStation 5? And can it easily be done via VMs and containerizing? And what is the impact of the technical choices you need to make? The Xbox Series X, by comparison, will support backwards compatibility with thousands of past Xbox games and will support games from Xbox One and Xbox 360 and the original one. And this is something I said in the beginning. Microsoft has done a better job on this front, which is not strange because eventually it is a Microsoft-based, Windows-based PC architecture from the start. So their operating systems, although they look different in user interface terms, the underlying core is always the same, making it a bit easier to translate it to the Xbox Series X. So if you're a sucker for backwards compatibility and that's really your choice, then eventually the Xbox will be the one for you. It's not going to be the main decision for me, but it would really mean a lot to me if the PlayStation 5 is eventually also capable of running PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games. My PlayStation 3 is still working, so I'm quite happy with that. But my PlayStation 1 and 2 both broke down, so I can't play these games anymore. I'm not really up for investing in a PlayStation 1 or 2 anymore. You can find them if you want, but it's not something I want. I'd rather see my PlayStation 5 being able to play the entire backlog of games or the entire library of games PlayStation Universe in general has to offer. Now, they are scheduled to release both Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 somewhere during holiday 2020 and the end of the year. I'm really keen on hearing what your take is on this topic. Is it something you actually want, you're waiting for? Is it something that would really make you smile when you read it, that we finally have backwards compatibility fully on the PlayStation 5? So that means PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4 games being able. I'm really looking forward to your comment on this, guys. I will be with you very shortly with some fantastic gameplay we had in the last few days for Rainbow Six Siege and the streams we had. What I'm also going to do is give you some hints, tips, and tricks about Rainbow Six Siege. That's going to be a new one for me. I've never thought I would reach a certain level that I've got something to add to the community from an intelligent perspective. But I do believe that on certain maps, I'm not seeing some pushes being done a lot. And usually you will see that the push is being done from a few predictive sites, even on the higher levels. So I'm working on that to give you some insights on that. I'm also going to do a bit more PC streaming in the coming weeks because I'm finally reached a level that I think I'm ready to share some things. So I'll be with you shortly. Don't forget to leave a comment, a like, subscribe, notifications, the whole shebang. Looking forward to your insights on the topic we've discussed today. I'll be with you shortly. Back to the madness. Movement 6 out.